on 20 years now. And so I'd really like to just bring a message of hope to everyone who is facing challenges at this time, especially around money and work and jobs and all these situations that are happening that's changing the shape of the world, the structure of the world. So I feel like I've got some experience now to share because it's been very profound. It's been so far past my wildest dreams. I never imagined it would be like this, that it would bring me to this understanding. I set out on this journey 20 years ago. I closed my business and I stopped working, not even the slightest idea of where it would lead me. And I had no intention of not working again, but after a few years of not working and realizing how amazing it is to not work, and to the freedom and the peace and the gentleness of life, without the stress and the anxiety and all those things, that it just felt like it was crazy to go back into working again just to earn money. When I did work, I loved it. I was a photographer and I really loved what I was doing and I was enjoying it and I thought it was just the best and I never thought I would want to stop. But I actually had a revelation moment happen during a photographic shoot that I was doing in my studio in Cape Town. And all of a sudden during this photographic shoot that was just flowing so beautifully, all of a sudden it just felt like the top of my head popped open and my consciousness shot off into the universe, and I had this amazing experience of I'm exactly where I'm meant to be right now. And so I was blown away by this. Time stood still and it seemed to last for an age, but it was actually only just a fraction of a second or something. And after that I just felt like, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to be doing what I love for the rest of my life. But the unexpected happened, and within 6 months I'd closed down my business and I had a backpack on my back and I was traveling down through Africa again. I left my home, left everything, put everything in storage and began a journey which has taken me 20 years later to this point now. I have a family, I have a daughter, we live in a beautiful place. And yeah, just what unfolded was incredible. It was, I'll be honest, it was super challenging at times because the mind went into a lot of fear, or my mind went into a lot of fear and anxiety around not working and not seeing that actually it was possible, thinking that it wasn't possible, thinking that I needed to work, I needed to make money, I had bills to pay, I had a family to support. My wife was also not working, and 20 years she hasn't worked now. So I actually went into a very dark place for a while because I was just seeing like I was making a huge mistake, that it wasn't possible, that we were going to end up left destitute and poor and all of this. But in that period I learned to go into these fears and just keep offering these fears to, I'll explain that later, or at another time, but to a part of my mind which I knew existed, that was part of a holistic mind, that is, I call God's mind, and just to keep offering these fears and just keep giving them away to who I call the Holy Spirit. But I'm non-religious, so it doesn't matter what religion you follow, it's the same. We're all part of a oneness, put it that way. So this journey led me on a very spiritual journey actually. 20 years of not working actually forced me to go inside and dive deeper into my being and discover the truth of my nature and the truth of the world. And it really came about because I was having to face these fears on a daily basis, and rather than responding to these fears by acknowledging that they were real and they were true, and going out and getting a job and doing all these kind of things and earning money and all this, I actually just went into the fears and realized that they were a complete illusion. They weren't real. They were part of an insane belief system that wasn't actually mine, and that I wasn't what these fears were telling me I was, and I wasn't powerless, and I wasn't weak, and I wasn't, going to be left in poverty, and I wasn't unsupported, basically. And so these fears, they kept arising stronger and stronger, to the point where I went into a very dark place for a while. But again, it just pushed me into going deeper into these fears, and this journey, eventually I popped out the other side with an amazing discovery about myself and about the nature of the universe and the nature of the world and the nature of each of us. And 20 years later, I'm still living the way I was living earlier. I'm not working for a living. It doesn't mean I don't do things, and we don't have some income coming in, because we still need money. We still need money to pay bills and do everything that we need to do, and buy the things we need to buy. But it doesn't come in the way that it used to come. It comes in a much more miraculous way, and it just seems to go so much further. So a little bit of money seems to go far, it covers all our needs. We live in a beautiful home, we live in a beautiful place that's peaceful and gentle. We're surrounded by nature and lovely people. So this 20 years of not working, it's a message of hope, really, a message of hope, because the world is changing at such a pace now, and people are losing work and losing their money, and things are happening that is going to be irreversible, because we cannot keep doing what we were doing before and still hope to survive in this world, because we're destroying nature, we're destroying the ability for life in this world. We're becoming more insane. The wars, the pandemic, all these things have been happening. Human beings are actually becoming more confused, and we're constantly looking outside ourselves for answers, in the forms of money and work and power and positions and documentation, whether it's certificates and degrees and all these kind of things. But these are all false hopes, because they, in reality, they can't offer what we're hoping they will offer. We're hoping that the degree or the money or the power, the position or the job, or even the government or our chosen politician is going to save us. But the truth is, they cannot save us, because the only thing that can save us in reality is to recognize who we are inside. And then by doing that, recognizing the nature of the world, the true nature of the world, and that it is actually miraculous and incredibly beautiful and supportive and loving. So all these things we've taught to ourselves in the past, we've been educated through an education system that has taught us you've got to work for a living, you've got to work for money, you've got to work to survive, you've got to be a winner. You've got to win, you've got to compete. So there's always a winner and loser. There's always someone who has more and someone who has less. But these are all part of an egoic belief system that is a system of belief that in separation, that we're all separate from each other, and therefore we do not have any effects on each other because we're all separate. So I can do something and it doesn't affect anyone else. Or, I can make lots of money myself, and the fact that I'm leaving everyone poor doesn't affect me. But actually we're all part of a oneness, so it actually does affect us. And it might not look like it's affecting us on the physical plane, but on the spiritual and the mental plane it's affecting us. So we're becoming more confused, more afraid, and we're losing the knowledge that is inside us, actually. So we're basically becoming, we're getting lost within a dream. So this 20 years of not working is really a message of there's a there's a place where we can put our hope that is full of hope, and will not fail us, because it was created to support us. We all think that without money we're not going to be able to survive. Without all these things, we're not going to be able to be happy. That abundance lies in all these things, but it's just not true. And that's why the rich are always still chasing more money. They're never happy with what they got. And the poor are always chasing money, and everyone's chasing false beliefs, a false sense of power, a false sense of abundance, a false sense of hope, because they actually don't have what they're offering. And so this journey is an inner journey. And so, what I'm seeing is that the world is changing now, and we are almost being forced into a change. We have to change, for the sake of our children and for the sake of the future, for our planet and for our families. We have to make this change. We cannot just keep doing what we were doing before and expect good results to come from it, because it is quite clear that they're not going to come from what we're doing. We're destroying the world. We're causing an imbalance in the systems of the world. We're going through a mass extinction. We're killing so many creatures and animals daily. Just the billions that we're killing, just in the slaughterhouses alone is sickening, really. Let alone all the what we're doing with the pesticides and our farming and all these kind of things, and the destruction, the mining and all these kind of things, and it's all being fueled by a capitalist mindset that we can just take what we want and take what we think we need, and it has no effect, and as long as I'm all right, sod the rest, basically. Don't worry about anyone else. As long as I've got what I need, as long as I'm, sitting in a pile of money, then don't worry about everyone else being in poverty. And so this has to change, and it has to change because it's not actually our reality. It is a false reality. It's more a hellish reality. And so the ego is a modern symbol of basically the devil, what the Christians or the Jews and Islam would call the devil. The ego is a belief system in separation that has fallen into ignorance, basically, fallen into darkness, fallen away from the truth, and is creating a false reality, a deceptive reality for itself. And so all of this needs to be undone inside us. And so this 20 years of not working has really pushed me into looking deeper within myself and finding the truth within myself. Not looking outside at there's a lot of false gurus at the moment who, they're teaching, make more money, I can show you how to become a millionaire, I can, show you how to, find abundance in following your dreams, basically. Follow your dreams. Do you want a bigger house? Follow me, I'll show you how to create a bigger house. If you want more money, if you want another job. But all these are, these are all false gurus in a way. They're not doing it out of, because they're evil or bad, but they're doing it because they're being deceived. They basically deceive themselves, and they're teaching deception because they are self-deceived. So they're not doing it out of unkindness, they're doing it in kindness, but because they haven't realised necessarily the truth of who they are and the true nature of the world. When you follow one of these kind of principles which a lot of teachers are teaching, how to look outside yourself and find value, how to look outside yourself and find money, how to look outside yourself and find healing, basically, or salvation. They're basically teaching you to look in a place where it doesn't exist. So you're always going to be looking. The journey's never going to stop because it's not there. You cannot find those things where it doesn't exist. And the only place it does exist is within yourself. So we have this incredible mind that is a creative mind, and it creates whatever we ask for. So if we ask for abundance in a place where abundance doesn't exist, it creates deception for us. And all the time we keep believing that the abundance comes in the forms of money, and comes in the forms of goods and handbags and cars and all these kind of things, or jobs or positions or degrees or certificates, all the time we think their value lies in those things, we are deceiving ourselves. And so the mind creates illusions for us, but because it's not true, they cannot last for very long, so they must always basically dissolve and fade away, because an illusion, it cannot maintain forever, it has to end at some point. And in a way, you can say the body is an illusion, because the body must end. We are not the body. One of the things about this journey, which I never realised, was a profound understanding for me, was that the body is not who I am. That actually the consciousness that I am is non-physical, and it's not the body. And so part of this undoing process is to recognise that the body is not who you are, and that we are actually spiritual beings. We're beings that actually don't have bodies. We are infinite, we are eternal, and we are free. The body is a vehicle of containment. It's a body of limitation. It has a barrier, and the skin is a barrier to everything outside itself. And this has a defense system defending itself from everything outside. So it's the home of the ego. It's the home of the ego, and all the time we're following the mind that believes that it is the ego. All the time we're believing in the false belief in separation, that we are all separate from each other. We are choosing a deception for ourselves. So, this is a kind of, the journey is profound, but it's a message of hope, because if you are finding yourself facing situations now that just seem hopeless, because, the work, and because of the money, and because, the bills are just mounting up, and you cannot afford to pay the bills, and you cannot, find a job, and life just feels hopeless, and you're slipping into depression and all these things. In a way, these things are good, because what it's doing is it's pushing you to look deeper within yourself. I was very fortunate, because I chose it. I chose the path, and I chose to stop working, and I made the choice to not continue with the work, actually just go into the fears as they arise. But a lot of people haven't, maybe they haven't chosen it consciously. Maybe it's an unconscious decision on a global scale that we are waking up. But when it feels like it's been imposed upon us, it's even more disempowering. And so, I just want to share some of what I've learned through not working for 20 years, and how I have now the same amount as what I had 20 years ago. And I didn't stop my work, and I had lots and lots of money. I bought my house for cash. I was receiving a little bit of rent from a house I had that I bought also for cash. But that was enough to support me, as a single person. When I got a family, and I got a wife and a child, and then I ended up having to support them, it was not enough to cover those bills and those costs. But miraculous things happen. And that was just my journey. So what I'm saying is, start looking inside yourself and go into the fears. Don't react on the fears. If you react on them, you're reacting on them, and you're empowering them by saying that these fears are real. So whatever these fears are telling me, it must be real, because because I'm reacting to it, or I'm blaming, or I'm angry, or whatever, But if you just feel the feeling of the fear and then just acknowledge this is how you feel, but it's not necessarily true, eventually you'll come to a realization that the fear never happened. You know, the thing that the fear was pointing to doesn't actually happen if you face the fear. You know? If you believe in the fear, then yes, you're going to make it happen, because now you've joined your will to the fear, and therefore it will happen. You know? But if you face the fear and you just acknowledge the fear and say, this is what I'm feeling, let me just sit with this feeling and do not give any power to it, just be with the feeling. And then you know, I can share how I work with fears, but you can eventually start to realize that the fear is an illusion and it doesn't actually happen. And so the more you see this in your life, the less you believe in the fear, and the more you start to believe in the power of the universe, and the more you align your mind to like a universal mind, and you align your will to a universal will. What happens is the universe, you're now not defending yourself against the universe, you're aligning yourself with the universe, and therefore the function of the universe is to serve us. The function of the universe is to give us whatever we need. You know? So once we start aligning our will with the universe, it basically starts appearing in our life in miraculous ways. So bills get paid, things happen, money comes in, all those things that we feared just do not happen. You know? And because in truth we are miraculous beings of light, and this is why I'm saying we're not these bodies. Once we start recognizing that we are this super conscious being of light, then we become empowered, and then we start asking for things that we really want, that we really need, you know, in the world, and it comes to us. And the thing is about not working, is that you're no longer busy. You have time to contemplate things. You have time to allow things to unfold. So if you need something or you're asking something, you have the ability to wait and let the universe bring it at the right time, in the right way, that actually serves us. And we don't have to go out and get a job and pay for it. It actually just appears, you know, in miraculous ways. It comes from one form or another. You know, a friend will arrive with something, or someone will arrive with something, or you know, you need a home, a house will appear at the price that you can afford, or you know, you need a vehicle will, you know, you'll look in the newspaper and all of a sudden a vehicle will stand out more than any other, and you will find that it will just, you know, you'll go and see it and you'll have the money and it will feel right, and the person will be willing to give it to you at the price that you can afford, and all these things happen. You know, so you're not bartering anymore. You're not having to barter with people, or you know, like one of these things that we tend to do is always want things cheaper. You know, so we you know, I always found, you know, pay people what they ask for. You know, and just trust that, you know, it's going to be, you know, the more you value it, the more you're willing to pay for it, the more it will serve you. If you're always bartering for something, you know, trying to knock them down in price and get the cheapest you can, then what you're really doing is you're undervaluing the item, and therefore it won't serve you anymore. As it won't serve you as a valuable item, it will serve you as an undervalued item, and therefore you'll lose it very quickly because you didn't value it enough. So this is all part of an undoing process. It really is about undoing the beliefs that we were taught in our education system and through our society, because they just weren't true. They just weren't true. Not anybody's fault, no judgment. You know, we're all part of this, you know, confused world. We're all on this planet together. It isn't anybody's fault, but it is time to start waking up and recognizing that, you know, we are actually miraculous beings of light, and we can transform, and we can use our minds consciously instead of unconsciously, and return the world to a miraculous world that it is, and let the universe do what its function is, and that is to serve us and to give us what we need.